program was about. Welcome to the Iowa blog. We're going to try to turn off a little extra sound that's rattling in the background. I think we may have it now. This is Family Hour. It's my pleasure to be here with our cast of characters, such as we may be. We have Kevin up there in the deck. The wind is blowing. It's been a little blustery here. We've got a tropical disturbance that's moving through, not anything other than rain and thunder. Wookie doesn't like it very much, kept me up for a good part of the night because Wookie is not a thunder dog. But nice to see you on my deck, Kevin. And Dr. Jeff, always a pleasure. I understand that the top three of you guys are all wearing Shannon shirts with, the Iowa logo written in Paleo Hebrew that was part of the Shannon visit. I had a great time with Shannon here, as all of you guys did. So, Jeff, good to see you. You're not in the hospital tonight. You're at home.
No, I'm at home, and no one's dying to meet me right now.
Okay. I'm delighted to hear that. And Kirk, we missed you last week. Glad to have you. Glad to have you back.
Glad to be somewhere.
Yeah, glad to be anywhere, huh? Yeah. At this point in our lives, that's kind of the approach we take, isn't it? Just glad to be anywhere. Upright is pretty good. And JB, you were going to wear your Iowa shirt from Shannon, but you thought it might clash with your Van Gogh.
Yeah.
I wore it last week. I didn't want people to think it's the only shirt I have.
Okay. You're sitting down so low in your camera that we can't tell what shirt you're wearing, so we didn't even notice it last week. But
that. There you go.
Oh, okay. There you go. So,
wow.
Welcome. We may get Leia a little bit later. We got Rich over there in the corner. He's the master of the cables. Boy, I tell you what, for those who saw Rich's production there in the Ocean Studio, where he had the dual moving cameras and zooming out and left and right and panning the scene, isolating like on that pyramid house that's out there on the ocean. That was really quite the production. I think we ought to nominate Rich for an Academy Award. Best cinematography.
Rich is
I'll take an Emmy.
Best cinematography. Take an Emmy.
Rich is a maestro.
He is. It was absolutely a marvelous.
I create the illusion that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it just makes the whole message so much more interesting when you have good visuals and the very fact that we are the only one broadcasting that has an ocean in the background and palm trees that are shimmering and the like. We might as well capitalize on it. Yeah. And both of us happen to not only love that outdoor studio more than the others because it is so wild, it is so raw. It's nature. You're wondering if it's going to rain and if the mosquitoes are going to bite and what's going to happen out there with noises. So it's really the joy of doing a live stream program is just every bit of it's kind of the live stream on adrenaline when you're out there and you're sharing nature. So God is inviting us back to the garden, and that is indeed a garden-like setting surrounded by water. So it is our favorite, and it's of course a favorite because in that studio we're focusing almost entirely on Dode's Mizmor. And oh my goodness, is that ever fun? So we've had an interesting, really 3 or 4 weeks, haven't we, fellas? We've managed to we did a whole bunch of series where we introduced for the first time, a comprehensive understanding of the book of Daniel. And we still have more of it to cover, and we're going to cover it more on this program. We're moving into the 9th chapter on this program. But up to this point, we've been able to dial into the exact dates that everything occurred and will occur going forward. And it's been the first ever comprehensive and accurate assessment of the book of Daniel, revealed just in time.
Unsealed. You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first, and it exposed the fact that we now know for certain that Donald Trump is a great betrayer. He's the corporeal manifestation of hospitality, and that's pretty extraordinary in its own right. So we are making enormous progress. And just as we were doing that, we began this season where we have Gorilla, the forum, and
The sound is garbled.
our sound is garbled. I hear. So we listen to garbled sound.
Yeah, it's
Push
just
the button there, Rich.
there. It is. There it is.
Okay, so we're back again.
Yep, that's good.
Okay. So anyway, we devoted a better part of a month to presenting what can be known about Teruah, and of course with Teruah, that's the greatest show on earth. I think more happens on Teruah than we can even possibly imagine. It's too much for one day. If you were, it's pretty overwhelming. And then we talked about Dod's return with Yahweh on Kippurim and when that'll happen and what that represents. And then there's so much that we had the opportunity to learn about Sukkah, because the entire purpose of Sukkah is calling us back to the garden. We're returning to the garden of great joy and what that represents. And I think that program we did last week on the garden may have been among the most
enlightening
ever. I don't think anyone has ever considered why the text reads as it does and why God shared it with us as he did. And I think we came up with the only explanation that is rational regarding this. You know, if you haven't listened to it, I would strongly encourage you to listen to it, because it turns that entire episode in the garden into a prophetic expose.
Oh yes.
On something that is quite revealing for this time, and particularly for those who are headed back into the Garden of Eden and those who will be rejected from it. So now that we have you, Leah, so now we also have Leah here.
And along those lines, if I may,
yeah.
more to come, because I was just doing this little word study and bumped into something, you know how like I always do?
Yes.
There's more to come on that.
On our return to the garden, or of those who are not going to make it in?
Those who aren't going to make it in and those who do.
Okay.
And who Yahweh thinks are the best among women.
Okay. There was an interesting timing on this, because now that Leah's here, I'll mention it. There was a post on the Mother Goddess cult site.
Oh, the leprous wasp.
Yes, the leprous one. She posted a site that was designed to besmirch me, but she didn't have any ammunition against me.
No.
So what she did is you have to read down, and she has some very inept citations, and she can't even write Yahweh's name, which is quite telling. And then she comes to her proof statement.
Oh,
and her proof statement is that, Dr. Jeff, did you know that the woman who probably loves you more than anybody on earth, now that your mother has passed away and you don't have wives currently in your life, the woman who has probably been the most supportive to you, I hate you. Did you know that?
Wow, that's a revelation to me.
How often do you and Leah talk?
Every day to every other.
Yeah, between 4 and 5 times a week.
Absolutely.
Yes.
At least.
Yes,
Yeah, long conversations typically.
indeed.
Yeah. In fact, Leah was so supportive of you when you went through a time where you didn't have really much of anybody other than Leah and myself and your dad supporting you. Wasn't Leah by far your biggest supporter?
Beyond a doubt.
And didn't Leia's support of you ring so true and so genuine that your dad just came up with an answer for most everything through this whole process of healing, which was listen to Leia?
He came up with that conclusion with that before even knowing about Mashal 14.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I don't think that a man can, as a friend, can be any more admired, appreciated, and loved by a woman who is a friend.
Platonically.
Yeah, platonically, as a friend.
Yes.
He's like my brother.
Yeah, like a brother. I don't think
Yeah.
it's possible that a man has a more loving, brotherly, sisterly relationship than you have with Leia.
No, and I'd like to let the record reflect that because of Leia, helped extricate me from a very, very difficult situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was she who really, really led the way for some positive things to happen now.
Yeah.
I seem to be an expert at extricating people from toxic relationships because I had to do it for myself.
Yeah, and I had to do it as well. As a matter of fact, the reason I know so much about that, Dr. Jeff, is that the strategy that we collectively deployed that worked so well was one that I had a different conclusion. And this was back in the time that I was still listening to and supporting Dee. Her view of what should be done was the antithesis of what I thought was right. And so what I did is I went to Leia and said, I want you to cut Dee out of this equation. She's going to kill this man. And what I want you to do is follow the following strategy. And you're going to say you think this is crazy until you hear the whole thing that I think needs to be done. And we're going to get Harold involved.
Yep.
And I guarantee you this is going to work. And this man has been so dear and good to us. He deserved this support.
Yep.
And I will convince his father to support him in this way. And I need you to be the point person on this and support my friend. And look at you now.
Indeed. I think the Mother Goddess needs a spinal tap and maybe some ECT to begin with.
It's amazing that you would pick to try to demean her and me as good a relationship as two people could possibly have.
It's
because she doesn't have any relationships like that. Everything that she does is either a grift or a coercion or a manipulation. She pretends to be friends with you girls, but talks crap about you behind your back.
Every one of them. She
hates you.
She was openly disgusted with and spoke hatefully of prior
Jackie,
to forming her.
Molly,
everyone. Prior to forming the cult, and then she convinced them that she was the one supporting them when it was exactly the opposite, and they weren't smart enough to figure it out.
She wants to project her hatred onto everyone else.
That's exactly right. That's the key word. She's projecting like a maniac on steroids.
Yeah, and then
like who lives in Delulu.
She actually used this woman who was exactly the opposite of as she was portrayed. It was Dee used her for this purpose.
Disgusting.
Leia did not. She called this woman, talked to Leia, instant messaging, something of that nature. One of the messaging things that I don't use. Fortunately, Leia does. And
she popped into my DMs.
Yeah, she says, you don't know me very well. I'm really lonely. I'm looking for some kind of a mail company that is in the covenant. Would you mind helping me? Would you find somebody to introduce me to?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
do you know anyone single? Can you introduce me?
Right. So she came to Leia for that reason, and
don't lie. Beth.
Yeah, the nicest, most genuine, most trustworthy, honorable man that we had come across in our long time together that was single and available that wasn't even too far away from her was you, Dr. Jeff. And that's why, and I'm sorry, I apologize. And I have apologized like 10 times to you for Leah.
Even recommending her.
Trying
Disgusting.
to be nice here, thinking this would be a good
Thought
thing.
you were a nice girl. You're not.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how
Lying.
it happened. And I don't know the girl other than I only had one conversation with her. You remember the one conversation we had? There's only one ever.
Yeah, we had some coffee together, and she just asked you a question about, I believe it was Numbers 15.
Yeah, picking up sticks, and how that was proof that you had to observe the Shabbat by doing nothing. And I remember talking to her about it and said, I think it's grossly misunderstood. And I'll go back one day and I'll translate it again and provide a comprehensive answer. I've done that now.
Oh, yes.
I didn't even get a thank you on that. But
because it convicts her.
yeah, but nonetheless, we've been through that, and it has the word for stick isn't even in there, nor is the word for pickup.
It's a tree. It's a tree.
Trees. Yeah, it's a tree of lives and the tree of the knowledge
Isn't
of good and
picking
evil.
up sticks?
But
a kid's
anyway,
game?
the whole thing was Leah manipulating her when it's actually Dee that was manipulating her,
Yeah.
and that
Welcome to the real world, honey.
and I don't care about this girl because I don't know her from Adam. I've only had one telephone conversation. It was the one with you on the Torah, and that was it. But Leah doesn't know her from Adam either. But
Don't want to.
Rich, you do know her.
I know her.
What do you think, Rich?
I was embarrassed to tell you how unintelligent she was. Because I know you guys were trying to help,
Yeah.
but
So,
she just doesn't have the intellect to even be.
No. And so
Neither does Dee.
No, Dee doesn't either. So when she destroyed the relationship with you, and she did, I know what happened in that relationship. When she destroyed the relationship with you, she's still looking, coming to Leah, help me find somebody. That didn't work. Help me find somebody. By the way, she blamed you for her own faults, but that's the whole nature of this. And the only reason we're talking about it is because there is now a whole campaign out to destroy my credibility based on these kinds of lies. And so I want people to know what they're up against. And I want people to know that if you're associating with this, if you're an enabler for this, you should be ashamed of yourself.
You're vile and disgusting.
You're no better than the liar when you're enabling and abetting this kind of disgusting.
Isn't leprosy really contagious?
It is, but this is
it
really
is.
disgusting. So anyway, the next was, our buddy Rich is here, and maybe since she's into photography and Rich is into sound management, that they might be a team. Let her come for a visit. And
Actually, I was hoping that Rich could teach her something about Pro because she is
well, that too. But anyway, that was
not a thinker.
Leah's still trying to help, and it didn't work there. Didn't even come close because Rich says, "I can't deal with this."
Yeah,
And that was basically it, right?
yeah. And she never blamed Jeff. She blamed Jeff's daughter to me.
Oh, okay. Well, she blamed Jeff and
Yeah,
open communication to Leah.
Can't
and
keep
to
her
me.
story straight.
Yeah, but anyway, there you go. That's the history of the whole thing. And then I would have cared less about it.
And we know some really embarrassing things about this woman.
Oh,
We don't-
okay. But the bottom line here is I would have said nothing, cared nothing.
Yep.
But then right there in my feed into the Facebook site and being shared with everybody in the covenant, and also having people, your wife, Kirk, was part of this. One of our favorite and most actively contributing women, Mariah, was caught up in it and trying to convince them how terrible Jeff was and how right she was, and then how bad I was, even though I had no relationship with her. And then she posts a picture of herself in a dark dungeon and said that I condemned her to this when I hadn't even spoken of her.
Sweetheart, you did it to yourself.
Oh my goodness! So at that point, you
Shut
know,
up,
you're going
dumb
to say that
blonde.
Craig Wynn's a liar, and he condemned me to this place, and I isn't and told me I had to shut up or I would spend eternity in hell, and
You should have shut up.
never said such a thing. Don't know or didn't care about it, but the difficulty in being in a public position like this, you can't be about more public than this one, is that
No.
is that you have no recourse
No.
for slander as a public figure in your area. The proof for slander is essentially impossible.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter how awful it is. But if you don't respond to it, if it's put in the midst of your group or your among your friends and where you are trying to make a contribution, and you don't respond to it, then you're assumed guilty of it.
Yeah.
And if you do respond to it, they're saying, well, why are you even bothering with such rubbish? So it's a delicate thing to know what to do. And my view has been that I'll only respond under, there's really three reasons I'll respond. If my wife or my good friends, which I would consider family, are maliciously attacked, I will not back down, ever. Anybody would attack any one of the five of you here, six of you here. My response is going to be exactly the same, and I would expect the same thing of you.
Yes.
That's what you do. That's what it means to be a person of character. So I will always stand up for those I care about, that I know and love, when they're being maliciously attacked. Second, I will respond if somebody puts their trash about me or those I love in a public place or in my face, where to do anything else creates the impression that, well, they're saying these things, you're not responding, so you must be guilty. So under that basis, I will respond. And number three, if Yahweh tells me to. And how does Yahweh tell us to? Well, sometimes he talks directly to you and said, this is what I want you to do, as he did in one of these cases. And also when he has a statement in the Torah or prophets where it is exactly analogous to what happened, and he shows you exactly how he deals with it, and then encourages you to follow his example. Those are the pretty much it, right? That was our program last week. Go ahead, Jeff.
I would just like to say to you, Craig and Leah, that there was absolutely no reason ever to apologize. I go to the mat for both of you, either of you. Craig, from over 20 years ago, from the days of Tea with Terrorists and Prophet of Doom, that's how this whole thing evolved. And nothing has changed. I will also say, in a teaching moment, I try to get this person to stop denigrating herself and casting herself into Sheol by bringing up to her that if you look at what it says in the Torah about the Choder and his coal, that you should cease and desist from what you are doing for your own good.
Good. Yep, that is true. But it's since I don't know her, I'm not going to offer that advice. It's not my responsibility. Not my responsibility anymore. And the fact is, she was simply another tool used by a psychopath who has no empathy for anybody. That was the entire purpose. Is the psychopath deployed her and another woman right before her and others before them. It's just this constant
Harassment.
Cavalcade of abuse of others by an exceedingly abusive woman.
While she projects that others are doing exactly what she's doing.
And presents herself as a victim when she is exactly the opposite of what
exactly. And we want to try and mitigate and attenuate the damage so that they don't strip away other people who are not in the know and who are vulnerable.
Yes. And lots of people are vulnerable. We live in a time where people are exceedingly vulnerable, and very few people think, there are people that are part of her little group that I would have thought were much brighter, much better character than to have been fooled in this way. And it's, I think a week ago I actually shared my great heartache over the fact that there are people that are in it up to their nostrils.
Yep.
That should have known better, and they didn't.
Absolutely should have known
And
better.
at this point, it's gotten so out of hand. All I can do is just say, "Shame on you! You're disgusting."
Yes.
I'm repulsed by you now because you couldn't figure it out when you were told in advance this is exactly what is happening, and it's so obvious. Well, there we are. Now we're talking actually about the Antichrist. And to know him, you have to study the book of Daniel. And we have already heard all of his attributes and characteristics, which were repeated in our review of 14 Isaiah earlier today, where we're told that he was a pervert, he was egotistical, maniacal, disingenuous, a man of such ill repute that he would fundamentally bring other politicians and religious leaders down to Sheol with him. And so we have ever more affirmation that it is, in fact, Donald Trump. My biggest issue on fingering him, even though we had overwhelming proof that it was him, and that there's really no other option but him.
Goat hair?
It's the guy, goat hair, yeah.
Like, come on, that's such a dead giveaway,
Well,
goat hair.
Well, the coppercon of
Yeah.
Ezekiel is a pretty big giveaway. We've never seen a man of such egomaniacal nature as Donald Trump, and that's one of the most telling signs. But the biggest issue is that Isaiah 18 is very clear that it's an egomaniacal, meddling leader of the United States that's duplicitous, that is the one who betrays Israel and does so before Shabbat in 2026. And so, since Donald Trump is the person that's manipulating all of these levers, and that he is bribed and owned by Islamic despots, it's obvious that he's the one that's going to be doing it. And we're also told that this individual in Daniel is going to come to Jerusalem, where he's going to be hailed as a messianic figure and then ultimately as a god by 2030, which means that he has to have a following and to be beloved in the very country he is destroying, Israel.
Did we just
You
witness
thought
a dress
MAGA was grotesque.
Did we just witness a dress rehearsal?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is. What we just witnessed was the dress rehearsal for all of what's to come, and Israel hasn't been very bright. It's been exceedingly dense regarding Yahweh and about the adversary, and do not know that the man they have acclaimed is the worst man in the history of our planet, according to the prophets. So we have absolute assurance that it's this man, and the biggest issue is how in the world, with all of his confabulation, with all of his obvious lies, with all of his maniacal statements, and one episode of utter chaos after another, and his health issues at his age, is he going to live another 8 years? And
Satan's going to keep him fueled.
But it appears that the demons are keeping him going.
Yeah.
And he's actually ticked up in popularity, which is exactly what we'd expect. He's also presenting himself as the great peacemaker, and yet he's going to ignite wars that essentially depopulate the planet. So he's exactly as he has been prescribed. It's just
And he wants to take credit for this resurgence through TPUSA of Christianity in the United States. They are talking all over about how churches are full and blah 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 blah, and it's and he wants to take credit for that too.
And when he's not even a Christian himself.
No.
Yeah, I know. So
There's a sucker born every minute.
There's a sucker born every moment, and it's astonishing as MAGA presents him as their Messiah, and indeed he is the Antichrist and the person most opposed to the actual Messiah, Dode. But again, the biggest issue has been Well, I have never made a prophecy where I have said, "Thus says Yahweh," and He is foretelling X, Y, Z is going to happen.
Mhm.
I have made hundreds and hundreds of forecasts of what's going to happen in the future. And all of them are derived from a singular source, which is this is what the prophets have said, this is what they've revealed, and coming to study them and make the necessary connections to understand them, I think better than anybody. Uh, I know what's going to happen, so I share it. That is not acting as a prophet. That is conveying what the prophets have taught. Um, so, in this case, though, it is worrisome because, of course, the man looks like he could fall over and die at any moment, and yet to fulfill these prophecies, he needs to live another 8 years. But everything at this point is just so overwhelmingly obvious.
He did an interview recently where he talked about heaven.
Two of them.
Yes, it was very disturbing.
Yeah, two of them. One, he says, I don't know, and he says, I would hope that's possible. The second one, which was this past week,
Yes.
he indicated that he did know, and he knew that he was not going.
Yeah.
That was the smartest comment he's made in a long time.
Well, actually, I have it on really good authority that his transfer to Sheol, hell, is going to occur on the afternoon of the 24th of September of 2033. So you're
Will
right.
Will he be taking the red chariot?
He is. No, he will not be taking the red chariot. He's going to get a
Are you going to give him a ride?
He's going to get a Malak escort directly to Sheol after fulfilling the prophecy of the red heifer. He's gone, and between now and then, it'll be my great distinction and honor to be his nemesis. Everything he tries to achieve in those last 3.5 years, I will bring to naught.
Yeah.
And so he's going to hate me plenty by the time we get there.
He's going to hate you so much, he's going to kill you.
He is. Well, I'm going to allow him to do it because of the fact that it serves the purpose of the covenant family. So here we are. This is where we are in this, and I wanted to share what we can learn from Daniel 9. So I'm going to begin on that, and please chime in as
Alea's going to sign off because I have a puppy to take care of.
Okay, well, it was nice of you. Nice of you to be here very briefly. You can bring Cara in, and
I'll pop back in.
Okay. So a word's eye view of human civilization, from Babylon to Persia, from Greece to Rome, and from their churches to the copper cons during the time of trouble, has been foretold. And while there will be many more notes to this exceedingly sad song, particularly for humanity, for us, this remnant of God's people, even a modicum of Goyim, to reach our potential, we're going to have to survive and get people to survive to what will be a roaring crescendo. Remember in the movie The Devil's Advocate, where Al Pacino says, "I'm peaking. This is my time." Yeah, well, that's exactly what we're witnessing right now with Satan and Donald Trump. He's peaking. This is his time. He is the perfect confabulator, perfect pervert, a perfect egomaniac. He's a perfect blend, actually, of the two most nefarious admitted demon-possessed men in religious history. Paul, who admitted he was demon-possessed, admitted he was a pervert. Yahweh calls him a pervert, and in the plague of death. And Muhammad, who was a pedophile, incestuous, rapist, mass murderer, a vowed liar. He's a blend between those two men. Satan has a type. So, such is the story of most of Daniel from the 7th chapter on. First 6 chapters are pretty much nonsense, but it's pretty clear that, in fact, it's obvious to anybody that's ever studied it. The first 6 chapters of Daniel were written by someone other than Daniel. They're an entirely different attitude, perspective, style, and the like. And so we start in Daniel 7, and from Daniel 7 through 12. It is quite the presentation in terms of the story of civilization, as ugly and nasty as it could possibly be. And we'll continue that with Daniel 9. So Yahweh would ask his most beloved and brilliant lyricist to present the circumstances surrounding his quiet arrival and his stirring return. It is the most amazing story ever told. One that we collectively, fellows, have been the first to understand. And although it was boldly proclaimed by Dode and faithfully recorded by Daniel in the 9th chapter, the same text has been misappropriated to ineptly portray the rise of the world's most dishonest religion, one that is based entirely on plundering Dode and Yisrael of what is rightfully theirs through identity theft and counterfeit. Now, what is Dr. Jeff has to have his phone, of course, because he's always on call, even if he's not in the hospital. People are always dying to meet Dr. Jeff. He's an emergency room pulmonary doctor, so if you need him, you're probably not doing very well.
Yeah.
You don't want to meet Dr. Jeff on a professional basis. Let's just, friends, great. Professional basis, probably not. Okay, so what's really interesting here, and I've always wondered about this, the line that Eusebius wrote and then awkwardly inserted way after the time that it would have been appropriate to say, and in the presence of the gates of hell in Matthew and Mark. Now, once you put it in Mark, of course, it would have to appear in Matthew, since all Matthew is a copy of Mark. But the fact that it doesn't appear in Luke, when almost all of Luke takes what's said in Mark, tells you that it didn't exist at the time that Luke wrote his text, or that even Mark wrote his, since they wrote simultaneously together in Rome about 10 years after Paul's death. So it's interesting to note that this story of, you are the Christ and the Son of God, and then you have the pretend Jesus figure right in front of the gates of hell, telling him that, upon this rock I will build my church, when, of course, there is no even word for church in the New Testament. And God doesn't have one, nor is there a Jesus person who ever lived. But notwithstanding all of that, he then tells the Peter fellow, who would not have been known as Peter then, even though he's introduced as Peter, because he didn't become the rock until that conversation. So that's a little awkward if you're reasonable. But then he tells them, under no circumstances, and I'm threatening you on this because it's so important, you cannot tell anybody what you just said.
Right.
You can't tell anybody that I'm the Christ.
Oh, keep it secret.
And that appears in different words in both accounts, which negates the entire statement. But of course, at this point, we're already 3 years late. We're already on the cusp of the fulfillment of Passover, allegedly, and the crucifixion. And so that would mean that for 3 years, they were hanging around with this guy who never bothered to tell him who he was. That's why it's just so utterly stupid. And of course, you don't find it in any extant copy of any text found prior to Constantine and Eusebius in any document in any of the 69. And all of a sudden it appears in 2 documents, both of which were written by Constantine, Sinaiticus and Vaticanus.
Did they refer to him as Kepha? Kepha?
Yeah, as Kepha, but whether it's rock or stone in Aramaic or in Hebrew or in Greek, he couldn't have been called that until such time as this statement was made, and yet the statement was made just months before the end of the story, which means they spent 3 years without having a clue who he was. Right. He says, nobody could have told you that. Just my Father in heaven. And of course, it's ludicrous. It's craziness. And then, of course, the next line is, "Get behind me, Satan."
Get right.
He's speaking to the same fella, and he says, "Oh, get behind me, Satan." But the point I wanted to make is, as we're going into Daniel 9, is to say you are the Christ. There is no prophecy that says there is a predicted Christ.
Yeah,
there is none.
Right.
So why would you say you are the Christ unless you're trying to establish a Christian religion, unless you're trying to validate that there really was a Jesus Christ, because there is no prophecy that says that there is a Christ that's going to appear.
Yeah, 400 years after the fact. Yeah.
There's only all you got is Daniel 9, which mentions Mashiach, the word that we translate or transliterate Messiah. And it was spoken by Dode, who actually is the Messiah. And it doesn't say what they needed to say. And what's so amazing about that is that nowhere in the Christian New Testament, with all of their butchered citations of the prophets and the Torah, where they've messed up the citation to make it read the opposite of what it actually says, never once do they quote this one. And without this one, there is no Christianity.
Yeah. Wow.
You take away Daniel 9 and Christianity goes poof. There is no basis whatsoever for an arriving Messiah. None. And they never once cite it.
No.
Isn't that it's just riveting in terms of its implications?
Made up out of frayed cloth.
Not even that. There's not a thread to hang your hat on there. There's
not a single thread. So I want people to have an appreciation for this, that I'm going to go in and prove that it had nothing to do with a Jesus and there was no foretold Christ. But the very fact of the matter is, they don't even quote it. And it wasn't written until Eusebius, who was Constantine's propagandist, who was the person who added tremendous amounts to the new. Excuse me. Occasionally, Asher goes into biting mode, and she yelped in the last show, so I'm going to get her attention so she's distracted.
Asher wishes you wrote smaller books.
She wishes.
Good line.
Yeah, that's a good line. So. This is really an interesting analysis when we prove what was actually said and why. So
Paul and Eusebius, they capitalize on people's ignorance and the fact that up until the proper, understanding of Daniel 9 was rendered by you, they just capitalized on the ignorance.
Yes. Well, another one is that Christians believe there really was a Jesus character, because the name is allegedly mentioned by Josephus. And so they say Josephus was a contemporary witness, and Josephus mentions him in a non-New Testament text. Therefore, he must be real.
Right.
But the problem with that is the only person who had access to and then destroyed the Josephus manuscript written in Greek, which would be the only one would have the name Iesu Christou, was Eusebius, and he destroyed them. And so the only person who reported that he said this was Eusebius.
Let's get really simple.
The oldest extant copy, we have Eusebius's work in the original Greek. You know what it dates to?
800?
800, the 9th century.
800,
800, the 9th century. And with a couple of little problems. One is that Josephus was a traitor. He was a vowed liar. In fact, his biggest story, Masada, never happened. I mean, not the way that he tells it. It's the opposite of what he tells it. His biggest story is a con job, and he was a traitor to his people.
Right.
And that's the
Masada
reason
man.
why he survived the Roman attack, is he was a traitor to his people. And oh, by the way, in terms of him being an eyewitness,
Wasn't even born.
he
He
wasn't
wasn't
even born
Mhm.
at the time of the crucifixion. He wouldn't be born for another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, the Masada mendacity. Get very simple. Look at JB's wonderful website, and let's go to Mizmor 19:7.
Yes. Yeah. It's obvious that what they're saying is grossly untrue. So the implications of this prophecy, as we're going to find out, are far-reaching. And they resonate throughout the topics that we have already pursued and our approach to Yahweh along the path that he has provided. But more than this, the testimony found in Daniel 9 destroys Judaism, Christianity, and Islam while identifying the beating heart of the actual Messiah, who is the one who brought this whole prophecy to us. The notion of a Christ vanishes without Daniel 9 predicting the arrival of a Christ and therefore of a unnamed Jesus, even though it doesn't mention a Christ and it doesn't mention a Jesus. And the person who mentioned Messiah is Dode. And oh, by the way, we don't even have a Dead Sea Scroll copy of this particular statement. Nonetheless, Jesus is not mentioned. This isn't about him. And there is no other prophecy which speaks of someone being HaMashiach, the Messiah, here to redeem anyone. Therefore, since the prophecy delivered by Gabriel, which is God's most capable and courageous man, addresses the prophet conveying it, there is no justification for an anti-Semitic religion known as Christianity, for Christians, for Christ, for Roman Catholic Church, or any of that nonsense. There can be no Jesus, making the New Testament a contrived fraud, or from the Jewish people's perspective, an outlandish nightmare, because they are blamed for killing the Christian God who is a man. And if anybody's going to believe that God is a man, then you have a real problem with your God. Or that men can kill God. Sounds pretty stupid to me.
Yeah.
Or that Jews were responsible for crucifixion in Roman-occupied Judea.
Wait, that's the kicker.
I mean, the Christian religion is just a pile of really, really stupid lies. I wonder if they had the Mother Goddess consult on the book as it was being written. When Gabriel is properly identified, Islam is without the Quran, which, because Muhammad attributed it to him. He's a man. He's introduced as a man. We were told several times that Gabriel is a man, and the word Gaber from Gabora that addresses the Gabor of El, the courageous and capable man of God, it actually means strong man. So
Okay.
it's strong man of God. It's a man. It's not an angel, not an archangel. It's a man. God brought Gabriel as Dode forward in time, just as he brought Michael back in time. Time is a dimension, and souls enveloped in God's spiritual energy can move in time as God sees fit. So this really ought not have been all that complicated for people, since the characters are named. So with so much at stake, the souls of God's people and reunification of the religious bent on the renunciation, I should say, of the religious bent on replacing both Yahweh and Dode, all hanging in the balance, we're going to translate and then contemplate this misunderstood prophecy, which has been misconstrued to create the world's most damning religions. Now, there is no denying that up to this point, the book of Daniel has been a troubling tome at times, particularly when the stenographer speaks on his own account. The flashes of brilliance have come from Gabriel, from Michael, and from Elia, with them providing some of the most detailed and sweeping prophetic portrayals in what is otherwise a dark and twisted tale. Apart from the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 12th chapters, the book suffers from what I call the Babylonian effect, in which Babel, truth, and lies are intermixed and commingled to confound and to confuse. And to some degree, it continues. For example, in the 9th chapter, it opens with several errors in fact. A dunderhead on his own reconnaissance, Daniel claims to have written it in the first year of Darius, the son of Xerxes, a descendant of Madai, who ruled over the Chaldeans. Well, unfortunately for Daniel's credibility, Darius the First was not king of Babylon, but instead the 4th king of Persia. He did not kill Belshazzar, the last king of Babylon, to usurp his throne, as Daniel had alleged in the 6th chapter. He was the son of Histopus, the satrap of Bactria, and not a Mede. It was Cyrus, the first king of Persia, who was from Madai. Xerxes was Darius's son, not his father. Further, the undeniable. So how you liking it so far?
That's history on seizures.
Oh, goodness.
You might be a little bit confused.
Just
It's
a smidge. And, it's amazing. People run away from this. If you're, why would you run away from it? Why not just tell it the way it is? Daniel didn't know what he was talking about, unless he was writing down what Gabriel or Michael or Elia said. He was clueless, and even when he wrote it down, he didn't understand it. So these are undeniable errors in fact, and they are not an anomaly because they permeate the book and are found in every chapter. Since Daniel made 4 errors of fact in the opening stanza of his first sentence of Daniel 9, wow. we should probably disavow Daniel as a prophet, because you can be a prophet and make mistakes. We've determined that, proven it with Moshe, proven it with Dode. But
2 Sam 6.
There must, So, and he's speaking on his own recognizance here. So it doesn't disprove he is a prophet by him making a mistake. But when there is no attempt to correct it, and there's no insights that he himself is providing that we can grow from, we're just going to have to leave it as he was a stenographer.
He was cognitively challenged.
He was. But, he could write, and that was good enough to convey the message.
I just
And fortunately, he was visited by prophets with proven credentials. And we do not have to reject him as a scribe to all that he was shown and told. Now, what is surprising to many is Daniel is the only book in the entirety of the Tanakh in which the person whose name appears on the cover isn't the one delivering the prophecies contained within it. In this case, he was visited by 3 men, the first of whom was Gabriel, the competent, courageous, and combative man of God, better known as David. The second person was unnamed, but all indications are that he was Elia, commonly known as Elijah. We know that because in the end, he is one of the 3 players that bring to fruition God's plans. The third individual to have met with Daniel was called Michael, the one who is truthful and right about God. Like the first 2, he didn't much like Belteshazzar. May the Lord Bel protect the king, which was how Daniel referred to himself. That may have been also just a smidgen of a blunder. May the Lord Bel protect the king is how he referred to himself.
You can't
Okay.
make this up.
You just can't make this up. And
So you
yes,
have-
like, go ahead.
So this is the real, basically what you just described, Craig, is the real three wise men.
Well, yeah, I guess so. It would appear so. These certainly from God's point of view, they are the ram, the bull, and the goat. They are the three that are foretold through Numbers 15 and even through the inception of the covenant with Abraham and throughout the Moed Mikre and all the way through the prophets. It's the same cast of characters, and that's who these fellows are. And yet, like Dode and Elia, both men who were prophets, and Michael, who is Yada, contributed a host of prophetic insights while also serving as the herald for his king. It was important to represent the king. There's no reason for the king, Dode, to show up anywhere without his support. Kings just don't arrive and say, yeah, here I am. Now I want to have a little conversation with you. They always come with an entourage. And that's not any different than is the case with Dode. He's
usually send someone ahead to let them know they're coming.
Yeah, that's why they call the role that I'm playing for Dode, they call it a herald. Wouldn't that be the role of a herald?
Yes, sir.
And if you're the lesser luminary reflecting the greater luminary's light, the moon reflecting the sun is the symbolism. You would be shining with the reflecting what the sun is offering during the darkness of night. It doesn't get any darker than Babylon.
Good.
So that's the role, that's the metaphor that God is providing. So the prophecies that Gabriel, Dode, Michael, Yada, and Elijah revealed have proven correct. And they are therefore worthy of our consideration, especially as one who is truthful and right about God is explaining them to you now. And fortunately, the second half of Daniel, which is where the aforementioned prophecy regarding the arrival of Hamashiach appears, was conveyed by Dode, the prophet, king, Messiah, and son of God, who probably knew a lot about this since he was talking about himself.
Very good.
Yeah, it's a
little bit.
Somewhat familiar. He'd written all of those psalms, the Mizmor, about the role he was going to play. He even wrote about his own crucifixion 1,000 years before he endured it. So I want to credit him on being pretty well advised by this point. And by the way, at this point too, he had already spent almost 500 years in Shamaim with Yahweh.
Yeah.
You might
by
have got
this
a little
point,
information there.
Can you imagine?
Insights.
Yeah, he would have done the same thing that we're looking forward to doing. When the Shabuah harvest comes around, we're going to say, okay, God, we're happy to party with you, but we still have business to do. So please tell me, what did we get wrong? What did we get wrong? So we can go ahead and correct it. What did we fail to see that is far more insightful and useful to your message and your people that we just didn't pick up on in the time that we had? So fill in the gaps on that. And then you're going to say, as we return, what is the strategy you want to deploy? And up to this point, we've worked very well collaboratively, but I'd rather not just go back at it under my own strategy. I'd rather you tell me exactly what you want to. Happy to do exactly what you want here.
What's the play,
this is working out really well. It's your gig, and I understand I'm a bit player, but I want to do it right. So, how about some coaching on this? And we're going to do all of that, right? And say, how do you want us to respond to people? If we're dealing with numbskulls, do you want us to debate them, or do you want us to follow your example and just do away with them? Yeah. I'm hoping for the do away with them and just follow Yahweh's example. But,
it'll be nice to have a huddle with the goat and the lamb before everything starts. Yeah, right.
It would. Yeah, it would be. And the other guy I want to huddle with is Yashayas, because he wrote the textbook.
Yeah.
And I've read the textbook, but wouldn't you like to have a consult with the guy that wrote the textbook on what you're supposed to be doing? And so, I'd love to chit chat a bit with Moshe and say, hey, man, I get it, man. I know why you gave up. and now that you've had a little time away from the whole thing, got any advice here? Right. This is really a tough crowd. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a busy time, a fun time. And then we go back for the 3.5 years, but that 3.5 years is just so different than right now, because you're just not going to be the same as you were prior to spending 3 years with Yah and the goat and the ram and Yashaya and the likes. You're just not going to come back as this same person. Now, I think we're confident now. I think we're a little bullish now.
Supercharged.
Yeah, supercharged. So, recognizing that Yehudim were in Babylon because they had stopped listening to Yahweh, God would nevertheless come up with a way to speak to them. And he did so by dispatching the souls of 3 men who would shape the future, collectively orchestrating a concerto of fabulous prophecies. Among the most melodious of them is found in the lyrics we're about to review. Though these refrains, and through them, Dode explains how his fulfillment of the spring Mikre in year 4000 Yah would resolve the guilt of his people and reconcile the relationship with Yahweh. Unfortunately, Yehudim would remain blind and deaf, woefully unaware of what Father and Son have done for them. We will not make that same mistake. If nothing else, my job is to point the world's attention to Dode, the one at the epicenter of what we're about to read. Now, up to this point, Yisrael's collective ignorance and belligerence remains unconscionable. Through his prophets, Yahweh announced who, what, why, when, and where, even how, he and his son would do as they had promised. Quietly and then loudly, unpretentiously and then gloriously, our Heavenly Father would arrange for his son to return to Jerusalem on Mount Moriah on behalf of Yehudim, not once more, but twice. This message resonates throughout his Torah, the Nabiim, wa Mizmor. One would have to be deliberately ignorant or willfully recalcitrant to miss the majority of what has been accomplished by King Dode and his fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Bekurim in 33 CE. And yet, until we revealed it, no one knew it. Hiding in plain sight, always there, and yet everyone had walked past it. Now, this is one of the many reasons that God despises the rabbis in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Marxists too. But that is another matter. As for concealing the corruption of the most profoundly important truth ever revealed, the liars are many. But the king gave his people the opportunity to calculate the exact day the process of fulfilling Chak Matzah would transpire, revealing that 40 Yobel after the covenant was confirmed with Abraham, exactly 40 Yobel, he would serve as the Passover lamb. And he even identified himself in this text as the AL. So the means to restore the fractured covenant relationship was ingenious. It was compassionate. At Dode's request and with Yahweh's consent, God's most beloved redeemed his people during Chak Matzah in the Yobel year of 4,000 Yah, 33 CE. After his nondescript and bludgeoned body fulfilled the sacrifice as the Pesach El, the Ruach escorted and protected Dode's Nefesh in Sheol, while he was burdened with Yisrael's guilt, which he deposited there. During Matzah, he would magnanimously endure the penalty of separation, which would otherwise have befallen his people for their religious defiance. Then released from Sheol, still protected by the Ruach, Dode became as was foretold. He was the Bokor, firstborn of Bokurim, firstborn children, demonstrating the power and the appeal of the Bereth. As a result of what father and son have done, the covenant's children became immortal. They were perfected. They were redeemed from corruption and from religious and political malfeasance. We are now prepared to enter our Father's home as his children. Even better, through the fulfillment of these moed, we are emancipated. We are enlightened. We're enriched. We're empowered during Shabuah, uniquely capable of doing exactly as God intended. By serving as the Passover lamb, the physical body Dode's soul had occupied was being used to open the door to God's home. And it made us immortal. With his soul on the way to Sheol, the place of separation on Matzah, the pervasive fungus of religion would be expunged, making us appear perfect in God's eyes, guiltless. Then on Bokurim, Dode's soul and Yahweh's spirit returned home to heaven, providing a tangible demonstration of our potential for transformation from mere mortals to light in God's covenant family, which is why we're asked to walk into the presence of the uplifting fire, transformative fire. Gabriel, who we know is God's son, our Messiah and King, Dode to David, told Daniel when Yahweh would deploy his Nefesh consciousness to fulfill the first three Mikra. He also revealed when father and son would return to make the promises associated with the final three Moedim a reality. This prophecy provides us with a comprehensive perspective relative to Yahweh's timing. It is the absolute verification that we have complete confidence that when Teruah, Kippurim, and Sukkah will be fulfilled in year 6,000 Yah, the 23rd and 24th of September being Teruah, the 2nd of October in 2033 being Kippurim when Dode returns, and Sukkah beginning on the 7th of October in 2033. Replete with a full lunar eclipse on Teruah and a full solar eclipse. For full solar eclipse on Teruah and a full lunar eclipse on Sukkah. Pretty extraordinary. In fact, even the beginning of year 6,000 Yah, Abib 1st, there is a full solar eclipse.
Wow.
And on the 14th day of the month on Passover, there is a full lunar eclipse. Pretty extraordinary.
Pretty
to
good.
have all of those things orchestrated. God did a lot of
All a coincidence,
pre-planning to tune all of that. That is pretty exceptional. As a captive in the heart of the beast, in the most corrupt place on earth, in the birthplace of institutionalized religion and its amalgamation into governance. In the very nation Abraham left so that he could participate in the covenant. they were in Babylon. Three of the more interesting characters in Yahweh's story revealed a series of prophecies which unlocked the mysteries of time. In one, Dode pinpoints the very day that he, as the Messiah and Son of God, would fulfill Chag Matzah in Jerusalem to deliver on the Torah's promise. He also foretells Yahweh's return to reconcile his relationship with his estranged family. Unfortunately, we begin with a sour note. As I have mentioned, Darius I was the fourth king of Persia, 17 years after Belteshazzar's death. And he was the son of Hystapus, the satrap of Bactria. As he became the spear bearer of Cyrus's son, Cambyses II. Xerxes was actually Darius's the first child, not his father. Further, while Xerxes would rule Persia from 845 to 645 BCE and had a son named Darius, he was murdered by Artabanus so that Xerxes' third son, Arces, could claim the throne, ruling as Artaxerxes in 464 BCE. Sounds like your daughter's a little active there. Oh, we got a hug for Daddy.
Yeah. Oh,
Hi. Hello. Hi.
that's Hannah.
Yeah, Hannah. Welcome to the program, Hannah. It's nice to see. It's good for Dad to get a hug, and it's nice that you're home. So, in addition to all of this, Cyrus was a descendant of Madai, and he was the interloping Magi, got Mata, but not Darius. And more on this in a moment. There was the opening which caused us to, so this is the opening, I should say, that caused us to rethink why this book was written as it was, with everything backwards. It reads, in the first year of Darius, the son of Xerxes, a descendant of Madai, who reigned as king over the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, by being perceptive and discriminating, came to understand in the written scrolls that the number of years which will transpire in the word of Yahweh to the prophet Yirmiah for the destruction of Jerusalem to be fulfilled and completed was 70 years. Daniel, my God judges, Daniel 9:2. This is exactly what you would define as Babel. The last part is true. The first part is not. Yeah. That is what we call Babel. It's commixing, commingling truth and lies.
Yeah.
Initially, I wanted to run from this statement, but we just can't. As I have shared, Darius was never king of Babylon. Darius I, the Great, ruled over Persia 8 years and 2 kings following Cyrus the Great, who was actually the grandson of the Median king. Cyrus ruled from 550 to 530 BCE, conquering Babylon in 539 BCE, or if you listen to the Jews today, he is a copper-colored man with the goatish comb-over hair named Donald Trump. On the Cyrus cylinder, however, the king claims to have taken Babylon's king, Nabonidus, Belshazzar's father, prisoner. And that means that Belshazzar was still ruling over Babylon as his father's co-regent upon Cyrus's arrival. Therefore, Cyrus the Great is responsible for ending the reign of Belshazzar, not as Daniel previously explained. Cambyses II, Cyrus's son, would follow in his father's footsteps and rule from 530 to 522 BCE. While some say it was an accident and others say assassination, Cambyses died en route to Persia to suppress a rebellion attributed to his brother, Bardia, but actually led by a Median Magi named Gautmata. It didn't last. 7 Persian noblemen, including Darius, murdered the Magi. Thereupon, Darius won the ensuing contest by tricking his horse, and he became king of Persia in 522 BCE. Can't make this stuff up, man. History is actually so much more fascinating than the myths. Further, as noted, Xerxes the First was Darius' son, not his father. He was king from 485 to 465 BCE. He was particularly ruthless in his suppression of revolts in Egypt and Babylon before torching Athens. He wasn't a very nice guy.
No.
Artaxerxes the First followed after having his elder brother, another Darius, killed. He ruled from 464 to 424 BCE. Facts that were apparent to Yahweh's other prophets and instrumental to what follows pertaining to the decree to rebuild Jerusalem. You got to know the truth to figure this one out, which means you have to deal with the lie. Also interesting then, we realize that Darius's father wasn't a king, and by referring to Xerxes as, well, this is Akash Ewosh, the book of Esther is brought into question, and with it, the basis of Purim. It isn't historically valid, much less prophetic. The book of Esther, a rabbinical favorite, is utter and complete rubbish. It is a rabbinical fairy tale. Darius, Xerxes, and Cyrus's, the names Darius, Xerxes, and Cyrus are infamous. And so it's obvious that reversing their relationship of one another and to one another had to be deliberate. It had to be God's way of telling us that we would have to reverse the order of Daniel to understand it. Chapters 7, 8, and 9, and most of 9, are predictive of the rise of Judaism and Christianity and exemplified by the religiosity of Daniel throughout chapters 1 through 6. Now, as we enter the 9th chapter, with the exception of the historical reversal, Daniel is conveying the rest of this message as, well, I have, as one studies the prophets. And this realization leads us to recognize that Daniel was a witness. He was not a prophet. It is key to unraveling the Babylonian effect, the consequence of confusing by commingling fiction and fact. So as a participant in the events occurring within the environment in which he was enmeshed, he was stained by the stigma of his captors. Daniel was Babel. He was confused. He was confounded most of the time. Moreover, as is the case with his reporting as he spoke on Jeremiah, when it came to the prophets, Daniel became a credible witness. He accurately communicated what they had written, something that Paul couldn't do. And while he was adept at determining what was relevant, particularly to his people at this time and place, correctly interpreting what the prophet had conveyed, based upon what he read and heard, he adroitly positioned his people, showing them the reason God would act while revealing where they fit into his unfolding timeline and plan. So, with Daniel, we do not have to apply the tests that Moshe provided to determine whether or not he was inspired to speak for Yahweh, because Daniel was not acting in the role of a Nabi prophet. He was a character lost in his own story, turned witness who was visited by actual prophets, notably Dod, Yada, and Elia. And their credentials are, from God's perspective, of the highest order. Now, had Daniel discovered what we have learned, he would have appreciated the common denominator which unlocks the mystery of time, Shabbat, which is the promise of 7. There would be 3 40 Yobel epochs between Adam's expulsion from Eden in year 0 Yah, which is 3968 BCE, and our return to the garden in year 6000 Yah, which is 2033 CE, followed by a 1,000-year celebration of Sukkah. The intervening dates in years 2000 and 4000 Yah, which would be 1968 BCE and 33 CE, would be distinguished by the confirmation of the covenant with Abraham and Yahweh's commitment to delivering its prescribed benefits through Dode. God is very open, honest, straightforward, steadfast, trustworthy in his depiction of his story and his timeline, and who's going to fulfill it. It's not as if any of this is hidden. The reason Yehudim, Jews, were confined in Babylon was painstakingly portrayed in the 25th chapter of Jeremiah, which was written well in advance of their arrival. And therein, Yahweh plainly states how long they would remain. It reads, "The word, which for the benefit of the relationship came to be present with Yirmiah, Yahweh uplifts me, Jeremiah, concerning all of the people of Yehudah, the beloved of Yah, Judah, during the first year of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebo protects the crown, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, confounding integration, which is Babylon." So interesting here that Nebuchadnezzar is a pretty decent phonetic depiction of Nebuchadnezzar, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And this was written before anybody had access to anything that would indicate how to pronounce.
This was
like
written before anybody.
Wow. Is that yours, Jeff?
Yep. I quelled it. It's quelled.
Okay, it's quelled. Well, okay. Not only that, silenced. All right. To be a doctor, you have to have big words, huh? That's part of.
Actually, quell is also the name of a medication, as you know.
Okay. And it kind of rhymes with killed. So, you know, if it's better to say quelled than killed if you're a doctor, because the killed gets you in trouble. Quelled probably doesn't.
Ever hear of hair lice?
Yeah.
Quell is the answer.
Okay. Never had that problem before. I've had a number of problems, but never had that one. So now I know the answer to it. I know the answer to a question that I've never asked.
We just got to keep you away from the mosquitoes, man.
Yeah, that's true. Although right now I've got the best mosquito protection a fella could have, and that protectionist name is Rich. I finally found somebody the mosquitoes like more than me. And so long as Rich is anywhere near me, they go for him before they go for me. So it's working great for me.
Keep him away from dengue.
Yeah, keep him away from that. That's not good stuff.
Okay.
So basically, now that we've been quelled, and we have no hair lice as a result.
Wait a minute.
You got all
Just
how many lice can you have with 12 hairs?
scroll, man.
Oh.
I wouldn't poke fun if it wasn't for the fact that you brought this up on a phone. You brought this up on a phone call with me a couple of days ago, where you were going in for a haircut and told the barber, "Listen, I got 12 of them up there. I want to have 12 when I leave."
Yeah.
So.
And you got the phone.
Yeah, so you'll be really kind to them.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could. Okay, so that's the truth. You are although you're getting a little bit thin there in the front too, JB. You got plenty down here now. But
I got the whole receding thing. Eventually, it's going to be really long in the back, but completely bald on the top.
Yeah. What do they call that look? Is that a special? Is there a name for that look?
I always think of it. There was a comedian back in the 80s and 90s named Gallagher who had that look. That's
Okay, all right.
That's what I'm going to
You're
go
going.
for.
You're going for that look. All right, that's a look. And
I refuse to cut it.
yeah, Kevin, it's not going to matter because you're just going to wear that hat forever, aren't you?
I am. That's how I keep my hair tucked up.
That's how you can.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah,
Wow.
Leah keeps on telling me because she is always getting my haircuts, and because of the continuing stress of this job, I'm now losing them at a rate that exceeds the rate that they would normally need to be cut. So I keep on telling her, yeah, and I'm not sure that there is any need for a haircut anymore. They're falling out at the rate that you would normally cut them. But returning to the text here of Yirmiyah 25, to apologize, Yirmiyah, you were saying something important, and we quelled your message. So, yeah, beneficially to show the way to get the most out of life, Yirmiyah the prophet spoke to the entire family of Yehudah and to all of the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the source of guidance on reconciliation, which would be Jerusalem, saying, from the 13th year of Yoshia, Yahwehil's son of Ammon, supportive, king of Yehudah, Yahweh's beloved, and to this day for 23 years, the word of Yahweh has been with me, and I have spoken to you early, repetitively, and persistently conveying the word, but you have not listened. Boy, that could be said by any prophet at any time, correct?
Yes, at any time.
Now, one of the things that is interesting, because people have a tough time with God taking prophets forward and back in time, or someone like Dode who was brought forward in time to meet with Daniel, or someone like Michael who was brought back in time to do this. Didn't Yirmiyah tell us that Yahweh knew him before he was born?
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Yeah. So indeed, it is true that there are certain souls that Yahweh has identified and formed a relationship with, such that he identified and tested, proved, chosen, prepared, whatever, isolated those souls so they'd be ready to work with him when the time came, and he knows these people before they are born.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm quite positive that the rhetoric we have from Yahweh regarding to Shamuel regarding Dode is that Yahweh knew Dode exceedingly well before he told Samuel to go find that boy that's down there in Bethlehem.
Oh, sure.
That's tending sheep.
I would think so.
I mean, it's certain that Yahweh knew him before his anointing, and it's certain that Yahweh knew Yirmiyah as well. And when we read of the going back in time and the references to very people, that Yahweh is quite capable of maneuvering souls back and forward in time. Time is just a dimension. So Yahweh has sent to you all of his associates and co-workers, the prophets, sending them from the beginning. Well, yeah, actually it is pretty much from the beginning. Obviously, Adam and Chawa were not prophets, and Noah was not a prophet. But when we meet with Abraham, he's called a prophet, and it's interesting with Abraham, even though he is called a prophet by Yahweh, he himself doesn't make a prophecy, and he himself says a bunch of stuff that's really dumb and really not very smart. So it kind of proves the whole point on you can say things that aren't true and still be a prophet. It's there are other criterion, and clearly the most important is God chooses to speak through you and to work through you, and he likes to work through people that he doesn't have to totally control. He likes to work through people who are devoted enough to his approach to learn from him, to grow from him, and to therefore gain understanding and comprehension over time. But Abraham likely is called a prophet because the 5 conditions of the covenant and the 5 benefits that he would discuss with Yahweh served to be prophetic of our time when we came to understand them. And more importantly, when he took Yishak up Mount Moriah, that was prophetic of Dod's fulfillment.
Yeah.
2,000 years later of Pesach, Matzah, and Bokodim. So you have, and yet you have not listened, and you have not extended your ear to these prophets. Of your own initiative, please return now, each individual, from going the wrong way and from your immoral and improper practices. This is prophetic. God is still calling his people and saying that he is not going to return to them until they return to him. It is shub for shub or no shub for you. And this was a shub. God's story is consistent. He is not with his people now. There is no protection from Yahweh at this point, but he will return. He is on record saying he will return. And he says he will not return until his people return to him, which means since we're the only ones out there telling them they need to return and how they should go about doing it, we obviously succeed in this mission. That's a good thing.
Yes, sir.
Then it's amazing what God can do with unskilled labor, huh?
Mm-hmm. No offense.
Yeah. Excluding yourself from that, you're the most. Well, I guess everybody here has skills of their own. So then you can choose to live and remain. If you return to Yahweh, you can choose to live and remain upon this ground, which it's Adamah, as a result of the bloody red man of the earth, which to enjoy the benefits of the relationship Yahweh has given to you and to your fathers as a restoring witness forevermore. So here we have the Adamah, the bloody red man of the earth, the man from Edom, and he is presented as a restoring witness. And that is going to be the means that the children of Israel eventually will be able to live in their land forevermore. Therefore, you should not continuously chase after other gods. Boy, did they ever do that? Hashem, Adonai, G-D, Jesus Christ, Allah. They're responsible for all of them. Serving them, neither bowing down nor worshiping them or speaking for them. God's not into bowing down or worshiping. Don't do it. Do not habitually provoke and grieve me with the product of your hands. Then I will not distress or trouble you. God is not the least bit pleased with the idea of people changing his name, erasing his name, replacing his name, and creating caricatures of him. However, you have not listened to me, declares Yahweh. So therefore, you have provoked me with the work of your hands, doing so to your own detriment, bringing misery upon yourselves. Why do people do this? God's message is so clear. It's what he's offering is so wonderful. Why not just capitalize on what he is saying? And so this entire land will become depopulated and deserted, wasting away. And because of what they have become, they will be reduced to servitude by Goy Melech Babel, the Gentile king of confusion, for 70 years. Wow, what a name. Goy Melech Babel.
Wow.
The Gentile king of confusion, of confabulation. Boy, that's also prophetic, isn't it? Because Israel is essentially going to be depopulated. 2 out of every 3 Jews are going to die. Yeah. And the war that will be the result of Trump's malfeasance when he betrays them. And he is the king of Babel. No doubt about it. So the approach of Daniel that he took to understanding this is actually much easier for us today. We have access to vastly superior tools, from interlinears and lexicons to dictionaries and internet searches. We also benefit from a much broader perspective now that we are aware of how many of these events played out in our distant past. And while the answer to Daniel, the one that he was seeking, was clearly articulated, we do have a lot less that we have to work out to get there. For him, it was all yet to occur, and yet for us, only the events of the last days remain, and we have seen all these other pieces of the puzzle fall into place. It makes us exceedingly easy to put the last ones together. I mean, when you do a jigsaw puzzle, once you get it all framed up and you get almost all the pieces in, you got another 20 that are left. You could put those 20 in your sleep with your eyes closed. Yep. So that's kind of where we are in God's story at this point.
You've become the master.
Go ahead.
You've become the master of the retrospectoscope.
The retrospective scope, yeah.
I don't think I could even. I mean, I was good with Quell, but that is way too many syllables for me. I suffer from Mosheism, these things very well. But I was impressed that you could say it. It's entertaining, if nonetheless, and I'm sure I represent that statement.
Well, there you go. I gotta give Kirk a small bone. Kirk, we have stem cell therapy, man. We can get you looking like Curly when we're done.
Saving now.
We're all going to come back as a better version of ourselves, don't you think?
I'm not.
You're not, huh?
Exactly how I am. Exactly.
I'm a man that is comfortable in his own beard.
I am not going to be 6 foot tall. I don't need abs. None of that. I am just fine.
You're good with who you are.
Yep.
Wow.
I just don't want the allergies anymore. I'm fine with my looks.
Okay.
I want a new prostate.
Cat's out of the bag on that one.
Hear it.
I'm sure we can work that out. That's what's coming over the next few weeks and months. Going to get that all taken care of.
Oh, too.
All right. Well, I don't know how we continue.
A non sequitur segue there.
It's a non sequitur segue.
Blame it on me. It's the Quell business. I'm sorry.
I happen to love it. It's one of the reasons that I enjoy your participation. This is as a world, as we found out this morning, that is so filled with bitter pills and just evil, maniacal people that just a good belly laugh is highly desirable.
Yeah, if you're not going to laugh, you're going to cry.
Yeah. I'm all in favor of it, and obviously Iowa is on the same page, because the most sarcastic person of all time is the one that he is bringing back to be the narrator of the greatest story ever told. So
there you go.
We're in good company. I've never had a conversation with Iowa where he wasn't a bit sarcastic. It's just the way he likes to communicate. I particularly like it. So anyway,
sarcasm, just another free service we offer.
Yeah, just sarcasm is a free service. Sarcasm with teaching is a free gift with listening.
Yeah.
And sometimes you even get, what was that thing that I'm supposed to be, Dr. Jeff?
The master of the retrospectoscope, where hindsight is 20/20, bro.
Oh, okay.
Recto.
All right. That's kind of a prophet in reverse. Hindsight is 20/20. So that's a guy that can examine the prophets and what they wrote long ago and explain exactly what it is that they conveyed.
We're almost at we're at the end. We're at the very end, and you have the benefit of looking back but figuring everything out, and with the puzzle, the skills you have because of the 7 spirits, you have mastered that art like no one else has. So
it is actually fun to be able to read passages, and we did it again today as we were going through Isaiah 14. and to see in every word a treasure, and to recognize that you're going through this and you're sharing things about it that no one has ever seen before. Or this program last week where we talked about every nuance that took place between Yahweh, Adam, and Chawa in the garden, and how it is all prophetic of exactly what we're experiencing today. There has been no one ever that was given that particular gift, and it's to be the herald of the prophets.
There you go. And how about what you discussed? I believe it was yesterday, asking the question, Yashaya 53. Hello, the question. Guess who's there?
Yeah, Yashaya 53. If you want to understand what follows, you need to be able to answer the question who was the one who came to know the Zeroah? A title that no one had ever pondered previously. And there's one person who not only came to know that Zeroah was a title and understand what the title means based upon its verbal root and how it's used in the Torah, but did the search to find out that there are three of them, and that
That's
all
right.
three are spoken of. And the first person to properly explain Isaiah 53 is the last of them.
There you go. And you basically, for the detractors who don't know what Zeroah means, you've just quelled them.
I have. And, you even here where we're talking about Daniel and the fact that it was Gabriel and Michael, who are the two prophets. No one has ever equated those two prophets with the men that they actually represent, and has pointed out that they're not angels. Mm-hmm. They're not Malach.
Right. So
it is and what I think God is trying to accomplish with all of this is to say it was all there. And since it was all there in plain sight, that means you have no excuse. You ought to have been able to figure it out. With all of the people that were studying this, and none of them figured it out. And then I picked one goy off the street. And with that one goy, over 24 years, I revealed all of it so that you would understand it. So it was always there for you. There is no excuse for you not to have known. And by the way, now that you do know, and you know in the absolute nick of time, what are you going to do about it? And I think part of that too is that in explaining it this way, God gives the vast majority of people an opt-out. They can say, that he's one voice. People are saying nasty things about him. He is saying mean things about Israel and mean things about Trump, and he's making lots of what seem like outlandish claims. So he's very easy to reject.
Yeah. He doesn't have the character. He doesn't seem like the sort of person that I think God's message should come from.
No, he's not Charleston Heston.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, that is the bottom line, is that people are can find it easy to reject somebody that doesn't have a fancy title, and somebody who is just coming to them with evidence and reason, quietly from a little corner of the world, having written 35 books to lay it all open, all on the line for them to understand. And the reason God is doing it this way is he doesn't want a crowd. He got a crowd on earth. It didn't turn out so good. They became religious. They became political, became violent. They became murderous. And, in the next 8 years, it's going to be devastating. So what God is trying to do is depopulate the planet and get back down to a family-sized group of people that he can relate to and enjoy from now through eternity. So the role isn't out here to convince a bunch of people. It's not to find a following. It's to convey the message such that a thoughtful, open-minded person who wants to explore evidence and reason and come to know who Yahweh is, appreciate what he and his son achieved, it's all there for you.
And that's the kicker too, that all these people that are left are all going to be on the same page through Dode,
Correct.
as opposed to just folks that, oh, well, we love Yahweh, we love Yah, I read the Torah. No, you're coming through Dode. Yeah.
You are. Yeah. Dode's the boss.
Mhm.
And if you're not appreciative of what he's done, you don't understand what he's done, you're not focusing on sharing what he has accomplished, you're trying to pervert anything that he has done, or you're perverting his father's name, or you're not focused on what is the intent of this message. We're open to have any goyim who is listening to this join us and embrace the Torah, the Bereth, the Mikre, Yahweh's name, and Dode, and be part of this family and participate in the harvest. But the fact is that the focus has to be on Yisrael, because God is returning to Yisrael. And at this point, there are very few Yisraelites that are listening to him, and that needs to shub for all of these other things to transpire. And so our focus is on Yahweh, Dode, and their beloved Yisrael and Yahudim.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not synced with that, you're not going to be part of the covenant. And as you said, one of the things that we're just not with Dode, we're working for him. We're serving him.
Yeah.
To be part of this covenant family, you're going to work.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a passive relationship. You can't say, well, yeah, I love Yah and I'm covenant. Maybe you're not. What are you doing? What is the daughters are the best, aren't they? What are you doing to demonstrate that you are what you say you are? Those people who claim that they were covenant and are now off advocating and creating cover for a mother goddess who has lied to them about everything and is now so vile and destructive. Obviously, they weren't smart enough, or they didn't have enough character to really be covenant. So you can very easily write yourself out of the story. And lots of people have. And that's fine with God. God's not chasing anybody. When Adam and Chava acted up and all they did is take one bite out of something that God said, don't do that. If you do that, well, you can do anything you want. You can eat anything you want. It's just that if you do that, there's a consequence. God followed right through with the consequence. He didn't say, hey, I'm really sorry you did that. Let's want a second chance.
Yeah, listen, let it not happen again.
Yeah, I'm gonna be Mrs. Kirk. I'll forgive you. No, he didn't do that either, did he? No, he booted him out of the garden and gave him a tongue lashing on the way out. This is who he is.
Doing is very much the exact opposite of religion. Religion tells people these nice, comforting lies to lure as many people as they can in. And what you're doing is giving out the complete, absolute truth to drive as many people away that don't want to know the truth, because we don't want those people there.
That's right. We're not trying to get Christians to embrace this. We're not trying to get Muslims to embrace. We're not trying to get the Haredim to accept this. No interest in that. We're trying to tell people, don't associate with them. They're bad. Don't be a Marxist. Don't be a MAGA. Bad stuff. And if you're willing not to engage in those religious and political things, then there is an opportunity for you to take the time to know the truth. But you better hurry up, because there's very little time left and there's a lot to know.
And the truth has never been popular.
Exceedingly unpopular.
History.
And it's not just that the truth has been unpopular, and that lies, particularly religious and political lies, are the most popular things ever. But Yahweh has never been popular.
No.
God has never been popular even with his own people.
Freed them all from slavery, and they told them to fuck off.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, go away. We don't want to hear from you or see you again. And then they drove Moshe absolutely crazy. And then they prayed around and pretend that they're Torah observant, when everything that comes out of their mouth is adverse to Yahweh and adverse to his Torah, and in cahoots with their own rabbinical gibberish. And it's just gibberish. you look at these fools and you say, oh my God, God's got to be so upset, so disappointed. It's just amazing that he didn't sometimes say, it's just not worth it. The hell with this planet. Let's call this one a loss.
Let's go to Mars.
Let's occupy Mars. Yeah. Gotta be something better than this. This is just awful. You have to know that there wasn't much to draw from when we become the voice of God at the most critical time. That there wasn't much for him to draw from, with the exception of you, Rich. I know that you're looking at me like, how could you say that about me?
I'm just hiding in the background.
Hiding in the background, Rich. That's Rich's favorite. But it is true. That's why, I agonize over this all the time. I feel immense sorrow for God that at the time that he asked me to do this, I was the best he could find. That just should not have been the case. He should have been able to do better.
Look what you grew to.
Well, yeah, it turned out really good.
Yeah, he knew
And,
that.
At least he found someone.
Yeah, at least he found someone, and while that someone might have had, his hiccups and his issues and his flaws and that sort of thing, the very fact is, we accomplished the mission. We've done the job. We did exactly as he wanted, and we've done it. We've done it well. These 35 books that surround me, they are powerful. These shows that we're doing, they are compelling. If you look at the number of insights that we have deduced and the number of statements that we have properly translated and the conclusions that we have drawn, it's more than every religious scholar, every rabbi has theologian throughout all time and all combined.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
because your agenda was truth, theirs was profit.
Yes, that's true. That's we have a single motivation here, and that's truth. And God has now said 3 different occasions that the inheritance for this happens to be the covenant family.
Yeah.
That's the inheritance, which is God saying all of this work, the compensation for all of this work is when we're together, you're going to look at the covenant family that is part of forevermore. That's my family, that's Dode's family. And you're going to look at them and say, that's what you've earned. This is the result of your work. It's what you've inherited. And because we're part of God's family and serve Dode, the first thing you do is say, I appreciate inheriting them. Here, they're yours. I'll serve in any way you'd like, but they're yours. What a wonderful compensation.
Well, look, Craig, you basically were chosen long, long ago to nurture and birth Yehudim, Israelite, Goyim, whoever had eyes to see, ears to listen, and would just be logical and reject religion, militarism, conspiracies, and politics. But yeah, so
the reason we know this to be true is that in all of human history, there's no one who has done these things.
right.
There's no one who has said, if you're going to approach God, the first thing you have to do is forego religion, and you must forego politics, and you must forego conspiracy. You have to give up the 3 things that people hold most dear today before you can even begin this journey. And no one has ever done that before. No one has ever taken the 2 most popular religions in human history and excoriated them and written 10 volumes proving through their scriptures, using their words to prove that they're absolute frauds.
Yeah.
And you're going to start by saying, oh, by the way, you 6 billion people are dead wrong. And let me explain to you why you are wrong. Because I want God's people to know this is why you're wrong so they can defend themselves against you. No one has ever done that.
No. Again, as the master of the retrospectoscope, you're also the you know, the king of what the word counterintuitive means.
Yeah.
I mean, you define that word. It's basically, it's like shock to people to understand the truth. It's the truth.
Yeah. It
The
is
unvarnished truth.
it is all counterintuitive that the name they said couldn't be pronounced, and you would be disrespecting it to pronounce. We've proven that you're disrespecting it not to pronounce, and it's very easy to pronounce. When people say that the religion leads to God, we've proven exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
Right.
When the most recent ploy is modesty is what God is seeking, I've proven that there is no word for modesty, and no, he's actually seeking boldness. When people want to present God as tolerant and he sees your heart and everything's going to be fine, I said, no, that's just not true. You have to be right. When people have promoted for recorded history that all souls go to heaven or hell, and I've demonstrated no, the vast majority of souls simply cease to exist. It's just thousands of these, and they're all counterintuitive. They're exactly the opposite of what everyone has been led to believe. So, it's 10,000 counterintuitive conclusions, and it's why I'm always so attuned to find the religiosity in a rendering, a definition, a word, a translation, because I know that's not Yah. And to take the time to find either the verbal root or cognate of the word that proves that to be the case. Because God is exceedingly consistent in what he wants, what he likes, and therefore I guess to be with Yah, you have to be Kodesh, which is counter to man. To think like Yah, you have to be counterintuitive to the thinking of man. So you have to be a man that leads away from men.
Set apart.
Think about it, it's all very intuitive. It makes perfect sense. It's counterintuitive to everything you're told, but it is like when you first revealed, 3 destinations, it was like, that makes perfect sense. That's the only just way it can be.
It is.
And that was it just resonated like this is so true.
And what JB is talking about here is that you were an agnostic at the time, and most people who were agnostic and looking at this universe and saying it makes sense that there is a God and a creator, because it happenstance, just sheer chaos doesn't deliver what we're experiencing. But the religious God who says you will obey me or I will torture you forever in hell is sadistic. So if it's only heaven or hell, the God is sadistic and it's not worth knowing. He should be feared. And then to find out in the book of Hosea and then find it affirmed in 100 and maybe 1,000 other places that what God says, that most souls simply die at the end of their mortal existence. They've lived their lives. They've had their opportunity. They don't know God. God doesn't know them. There's no penalty. There's no reward. Their soul simply ceases to exist. It is totally and completely fair and appropriate and not hurtful, non-punitive, but not rewarding either. And then God says, if you are not misled, but you are among those who are misleading, a political leader, a religious leader, a conspiracy leader, then there is a place for you. There is a consequence of what, for example, is happening at the Mother Goddess cult. There's a consequence of that. And God's not going to back down from that consequence. Otherwise, he would cease to be fair. And because that is deliberate malfeasance. And then there is a very succinct, clear path to God. 5 extractive conditions of the covenant. You must accept all 5 of them. You must know them, agree with them, accept them, act upon them. And the only way you can do that is to follow through the proper intent of the 7 Moed Mikre and understand how Yahweh enabled them through his beloved son Dod. And then once you're part of this covenant as a result of those things, that you engage and you're a productive member of it.
what's the word for co-workers? Ebed or
Ebed.
what's the
Ebed.
Ebed?
No, Ebed.
So,
Ebed.
Ebed. Okay. So what is the plural form? To be those like Ebon, those co-workers.
Ebony.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ebonim.
Yeah.
Ebony. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're called to do.
Yeah. Now, what God says quite often is that Moshe was his Ebed, singular, masculine, and that Dode was his Ebed, co-worker, an associate, singular, masculine, and he will present this role that I'm playing as well, singular, masculine. But God is really clear about this thing that we're doing now. And he says over and over again that, in fact, we just read one of them, that there is a team now that comes to support this effort. And I think the reason for that is God that realizes that having tried it with Moshe and it didn't work, having tried it with his beloved son Dode and it didn't work, and God even tried it with himself and it didn't work, that we're running out of time and it's got to work, that one person can't do it. It requires a team. So God's pretty consistent. He's going to pick one person to be his co-worker, but that co-worker has to be able to do what Dode did and what Yahweh does, which is to delegate. He's got to have support. And that's what we're accomplishing here, because this can't be done alone. And what you end up with is a group of very dedicated, loyal, hardworking, very knowledgeable individuals supporting this collective effort of Yahweh to awaken his people so that they accept his name and accept his beloved son and come to know the truth and change away from religion and politics so that we can all celebrate Sukkah together for 1,000 years here on earth.
There you go.
This is the purpose. And God's also clear that it's not just now, but during that last 3.5 years, we're a team then. And during the 1,000-year celebration of Shabbat, he brings back exactly the same team. We're a team then. So it's just as it says that Yahweh is a great shepherd, Dode is the chosen shepherd. But Dode, as the chief shepherd and king, has shepherds to shepherd underneath him. It's his prerogative to do that. This time he's not going to have all the stress of doing this job alone. He has a whole team of people around him who are going to be supporting him, and it's going to be a joy to work with him. And what we have found out that there are times that he needs help. When I can't wait to share it. I've finished my translations and my analysis of it, my commentary of it, but it may now be my favorite all-time prophecy, but 2 Samuel 6, the preamble to what was my favorite prophecy of all time, 2 Samuel 7. Dode absolutely fails on transporting the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem, to the city of Dode. And he not only fails, he gets mad at God for what happened when somebody interfered with the picture of the fact that the Ark of the Covenant is being positioned in Jerusalem by a bull. And he didn't like the picture that was being portrayed, didn't understand it, got real mad at God, and just gave up and said, nothing I can do. I can't get it there. So somebody else is going to have to get the Ark of the Covenant to me, because I'm giving up. I don't know how to do it. And so, you got a guy. His name was Obed-Edom. And Obed-Edom is the one who is doing the work. He is, it's Obed-Edom. It is from the same root that says co-worker. He is the one doing the work, who heralds heads from Edom, which is the man that's going to reconcile the family. And he is the one who gets the ark into the city of Dode. And Dode completely relies on it. Dode doesn't touch it, doesn't manage the process, doesn't do anything other than he puts on the ephod of the head priest and dances like crazy and sings and gyrates and just has a great time in the process. But he doesn't stress about anything because he's relying on somebody to do this. And that is the theme of Forevermore. It becomes one of the most telling prophecies of how we're all going to work going forward.
He tolerated correction.
Oh boy, did he ever. Because we use the Hitpal stem, which he just comes to Dode and said, pal, son, you got this one wrong. Yeah. I'm going to explain to you who that bull is, who Obed-Edom is, how he's going to reappear in this story, and how I'm having him reposition that ark so that it's ready for you when you return so that you can anoint it. Oh, by the way, with the bull's blood. Now, how's that for pulling the story together? And that's what you rejected. But I got you on this. Now that you know the story, let him do his job. He's serving you. He's working for me. And when it all takes place, all you need to do is celebrate. That's your job.
There you go.
And Dode did.
He did. And how's that for quelling all those religious types who say the prophets, everybody has to be perfect?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's a little ending of that story that is the most delicious prophetic rebuttal of that and a rebuttal of modesty in the history of humanity. It is the all-time best rebuttal to somebody who was uncomfortable with somebody being immodest and celebrating before God that has ever been spoken in the history of the planet.
Talk about dance like no one's watching. I mean,
whoa, and it's a woman that is an insider. His foul-mouthed, mean-spirited wife, which means who is named questions everything, whom tries to put other people down, put everybody that was associated with Dode down, just as this foul-mouthed woman does too. Tries to put everybody that is that's working together with us down. And pretend that she is better than everybody else, and then to condemn Dode while Dode is dancing right there with Yahweh. And Dode says, "Hey, I'm the one he chose. You just deal with it. I'm not going to tell you why he chose me. It's just that he rejected you and your family. He chose me." And as for the people that you mentioned as those concubines that I embarrassed myself in front of, that you claimed I embarrassed myself of them, and you said that I was of no significance whatsoever before, well, I'm going to go visit them now, and I'll let them decide how significant I actually am. And Yahweh puts his arm around his boy and said, "Man, great line, kid. Couldn't have said it better myself."
Yeah.
And Sylvia was the great prophetess before this, because she explained when it was time to part with what I think is Kirk's greatest painting ever. When I said, "No, you keep it in your home. I want to enjoy it in your home. I want to buy it, but I want to present it in your home." And he said, "No, my husband is already well hung in my home." She got Dode's line before I even had a chance to translate it.
Wow.
Score one for the Sylvia.
Scoring for the Sylvia, yeah.
Wow. Now, if we could only get you a new prostate.
Well, we're going.
We'll have it all together.
I don't think there were going to be prostates in Shemayim.
I don't think we're going to have to worry about that. No, when we're in Shemayim, we'll have no physical beings whatsoever. Yeah. So I'm sorry, Kevin, to pop your gray beard bubble there, but in Shemayim, we're all going to be light and brilliant illumination. When we leave Shemayim and we want to travel through the universe, we'll travel through as light as well. But all we're going to do is dispatch a portion of ourselves, kind of like an avatar. We'll send a probe of part of us to another place and experience it. And when we're there, whether it's on Earth or on another planet or wherever, we're going to be able to transform as E equals MC squared some of our spiritual energy into physical matter, at which point you can appear just as you are, or in your case, it might be difficult to have an enhanced version, but in my case, it'd be pretty easy to make improvements. And then I'm going for some enhancements. So anyway, that's kind of the beauty of what God is offering us. We've gone well past our 2-hour threshold of family hour, so I think this is a good time to conclude. We'll pick this up and continue on our presentation of Daniel 9 as we work our way through the week. We're right now actually in a slight divergence into Yirmiyah, because Yirmiyah was cited in Daniel 9, and we'll explain exactly what that does. We're going to do some math for those of you who like mathematics and come to understand exactly what Gabriel Dode had to say about the timing of his fulfillment of Chag Matzah. It's one of the sweetest prophecies ever. And then he goes through and he describes exactly what we're witnessing now in the lead up to Shabuah, with the forfeiture of the heart of Israel, giving it to the Islamic State, and what the consequences of that are, and then how the next 7 years plays out. A lot to learn. It's a marvelous presentation, and we're going to explain it all to you so that you know tomorrow, today. Wonderful position to be in, to know what's coming. Wookie will be here. Rich will be here. Look at Wookie and Rich. Now there is a happy man and his dog right there. I will tell you for sure. Lovely to see Wookie and Rich together in this way, fellas. Thank you for being part of this. I appreciate it very much. It's a thrill to be able to work together and to know that we are a team with a common goal, to share Yahweh's name, to share his love for his beloved son, and what all that Dode represents. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Patrick.
Good night.